We're talking about gaming to practice trading. We're talking about gaming to practice trading. Oh yeah, it's actually a symbiotic relationship. Stay to the end to find out how it works. Welcome to the news. So, when I'm talking about practicing trading by using company incentives that want to actually find new customers on a consistent basis, so they actually develop incentives for people to join their platforms for brokerages, for example, brokerage platforms, for example, so you leverage gaming to practice trading, leverage gaming to practice trading by working with incentivization that corresponds to marketing budgets for different brokerages, different firms, different banks, different companies of financial institutions that have fundamental financial incentives to participate with you. So if you do more of the work, if you do half of the work, if you do 25% of the work, and you go partially to the direction of these brokerages, for example, you do your research, you find out their incentives, you find the incentive books, you can game the scene a little bit at a time to get incentives, fresh incentives that give you the interest to participate and become a better trader after all. Because sometimes things like, not Stripe, what's it called? Square, not Square, those are both payment platforms. I'll come back to that one. But that one does fractional shares of trading, and I guess I forgot the name, but they give you just out the gate $50, and then Webull, for example, gives you 2.5 free stocks, for example, and then Moomoo gives you XYZ in free stocks. And these are incentives. These are cash value incentive stocks. If you open up a bank account and it's a high enough value of bank account, they'll give you a couple $100 for opening a bank account. If you sign up on a 0% interest, card that lasts for some time and there's no interest involved, and you get 18 months or something like that, for example, and you also sometimes get free airline tickets for participating, but it depends. I don't necessarily recommend those. I don't like the ones where you go into debt. I actually don't necessarily personally the credit card process, because it just is dangerous for many people, or for the most part, because there's always caveats. There's ways that people can get your numbers, and it's just once you get hooked into a subscription, it's not wise to have that hook on your sort of whole process of payment processing connection. Although you can just cut up the card if you're sort of mindful of those things, which is sort of my style, I guess you could say. But nonetheless, I like to avoid the ones with any kind of debt potential attached. Avoid any of the debt potential attached. So in other words, funds that are gained for the marketing incentives for banks, for example, for opening up a brand new account. That's one type of incentive. Another one is what I was talking about before, brokerages, trying to game, to trade, to practice trading. Practice trading because you want to practice trading. That's what this podcast is about, is practicing trading and finding other people to pay for your lessons in an ideal sense, because you can start low and you can scale that up. And once you get comfortable on platforms, then you can scale up your own processes. And you can also leverage things like prop firm challenges, where you can try to scale up your earning potential by leveraging the ability to leverage education, other tools, other bots, and things like this to help you pass challenges so you can access higher level capital trading accounts, for example. But the purpose is to practice trading because that way it's an actual equal trade. Because the marketing budgets of these companies, I don't necessarily want to just talk about withdrawing their resources to try to grow as a company necessarily, but it's a reciprocal, it's a symbiotic trade, because they want you to participate on the platform, and that way you're using their dime to try to practice on the platform. It's called Stash. That's the one that I didn't think of before. It's called Stash, which is a fractional share trading system where you can actually trade just a couple dollars at a time on certain stocks. That's the one I was talking about. Anyway, nonetheless, they'll give you $50 so you can practice trading with Stash, for example. But there's other ones as well, higher level, lower level, but they'll give you incentives. And so you just want to start with their coins. You want to start with their coins, and that way it feels like you don't have much to lose necessarily. And then you get a feel for just trading. It's all about practicing trading. It's about pushing around the dirt, getting the feel, the fundamentals, because in essence, many people are not doing that necessarily. And even using bots, even using Grok, for example, even using Grok to trade, which is Elon Musk's bot, an artificial intelligence robot thinking mechanic, which is connected to XAI, which is connected to X.com, which is, the old school Twitter, obviously. So that's the mindset for this podcast, is to practice trading on other people's dimes, leverage their education dollars, because you're in essence trading. They want you to come into their company anyway. And so you want to practice trading anyway, but you want to sometimes do it risk-free without the interest of losing $1. So you can just practice wildly practice trading. And at the same time, they get what they want, which is a new customer, and then they get their money back if you are not successful. If you're not successful, it's just like a casino where they give you free chips, and basically those chips only work at that casino. It's just like it's a win-win trade, because you could have won more money if you practiced harder at that game. So it's a win-win. You still get to play the game. You get to play the game. Gaming where you're actually learning how to trade. It's like playing a sport and exercising at the same time, as opposed to going to the gym. So it's trying to be double functional. It's trying to be double functional in today's podcast by learning to trade in multiple layers, multiple facets where you're looking for incentives. And that's what I mean by going 25% of the direction, as opposed to making the company come 100% of the direction to come find you. So you get incentives if you go half the direction, half of the distance that the company would originally have to travel to find you, to connect with you, to somehow smoke you out of your hole, to be able to get you to sign up for something on the internet or on some kind of email newsletter, one or whatever it is. If you go 50% of the way to try to find them, to smoke them out of their holes because you're looking for incentives and you're playing the incentive game and you're gaming, then you'll get better as a trader because you have less risk to lose, because you just helped that company shave off 25% of the distance they had to travel to come find you, which saved them money. So they get to recycle that money back into you and give you that money to spend on their platform, basically, so they get their own money back anyways that they spent trying to get you to come there to begin with, so everybody wins. And that's the idea. It's reciprocation. It's full on fundamental, actual gratitude built into the process for them, even receiving thanks for creating the opportunity for you to begin with, to get that education and that gaming process and that learning experience for trying to become a better trader and trading and practicing trading through gaming. And there's all kinds of different trading and gaming and trading, gaming, trading in life all the time nonetheless. In between, in the interim, because there's incentives. People want you to do things. People always want different people to do different things. And so there's always incentives that are built in. There's sales incentives. There are goal accomplishment incentives. And so searching for those incentives helps you trade on the basis of what other people want at all given times. Once you're looking for the goal of what other people are trying to achieve, and you try to read into these goals and try to find how and what sort of moves and motivates and what sort of drives people in general, then you can trade in the game of life, if you will, and you can game and still continue to learn how to trade better and improve your trading based upon the incentivization and what people are willing to sort of do to try to carve out incentives for you, to try to work with them, to try to help vibe with their flow and improve their flow and enhance their flow to work better towards their goals and their end game processes. And so at a bigger scale, you get to just try to become a better trader and use the casino's money or the casino's incentives to try to play the games within the casino to become a better casino player, so that eventually, maybe sometime eventually you can buy a share of the casinos themselves. And that's the idea of trading. That's the idea of the trading game, in essence, is to try to buy bigger, more pertinent assets as the days pass, as the time moves on, more pertinent, more valuable assets as the days and the time passes on. Just like buying hotels in the Monopoly game. As opposed to starting with houses. You start with houses in the Monopoly game, and then you move up to hotels, and hotels is where the real money is at. So that's the game of trading. And that's the game we want to try to play off the basis of the incentivization of marketing dollars of other companies and bigger brokerages that want to and have the vested interest in your participation. So basically, that's all for now. Enhancing and improving trading through gaming, gamification of incentivization, I suppose you could say. That's all for now. Thanks again, Diggy Tech, Change for Game Studios. Bye. Peace, bye. Yeah. Also, let's remember every day to push for world peace. Let's push for world peace every single day. Push for world peace, and let's also remember to clear the animal shelters. Let's clear the animal shelters, because we have to clear the animal shelters by fostering shelter animals and adopting all the shelter animals in the world. And that to clear the animal shelters, and also hiring. We can hire the shelter animals as healers throughout our communities. So that we can clear the animal shelters. Clear the animal shelters by rescuing all the shelter animals, fostering all the shelter animals, adopting all the shelter animals, and hiring the shelter animals as healers throughout our community. So we can clear all the animal shelters in the world, hire all the animals in the world to clear all the animal shelters, and hire them throughout our communities to heal us and improve our harmony and our harmonious energy around the world as humans and humanity. That's all for now. Thanks again. Diggy Tech, Change for Game Studios. Bye, peace, bye.